The subway car lurched forward as Lina Grant gripped the overhead rail, her medical textbook pressed against her chest. Seoul's Line 2 during rush hour was always chaos, bodies packed so tightly she could barely breathe. Sweat trickled down her back despite the air conditioning fighting against the heat of 100 compressed bodies. She'd been in Korea for 2 years now, long enough to navigate the subway system with her eyes closed, but still foreign enough that people stared at her dark skin like she was an exotic curiosity. Lina shifted her weight as the train rounded a curve, her stomach growling loud enough that the businessman next to her glanced over with mild annoyance. She'd skipped lunch again, saving money wherever she could. $15,000. That's what stood between her and finishing medical school. $15,000 she didn't have, with a visa that expired in 3 months. The numbers haunted her dreams, a countdown clock ticking in her mind every waking moment. The elderly woman caught her attention first because of the pearls. Real pearls, the kind that gleamed with an inner light that screamed wealth. The woman wore a cream Chanel suit that probably cost more than Lina's entire year of rent, her silver hair swept back in an elegant chignon. She stood near the doors, one manicured hand clutching a leather Hermes bag, the other pressed against her chest. Something was wrong. Lina's medical training kicked in before conscious thought. The woman's face had gone pale, almost gray. Her breathing came in short, rapid gasps. Her eyes had that unfocused quality Lina had seen too many times in emergency rooms, the look of someone whose body was betraying them. The train pulled into Gangnam Station. People pushed toward the doors, shoving past the elderly woman without a second glance. One teenager actually bumped into her, too focused on his phone to notice or care. The woman stumbled, her hand sliding down the pole. Lina dropped her textbook and pushed through the crowd. "Excuse me. Sorry, medical emergency. Excuse me." The woman's knees buckled just as Lina reached her. She caught her awkwardly, the woman's slight frame surprisingly heavy as dead weight. They went down together, Lina cushioning the fall with her own body as they hit the subway floor. Pain shot through her hip where it connected with the hard surface. "Help! Someone call an ambulance!" Lina shouted in Korean, the words coming out rough but understandable. The crowd formed a circle around them. At least 20 people stood there, staring. Half of them held up phones, recording. Not helping, just documenting someone's potential death for social media content. "Call 119. Now," Lina screamed at a man in a business suit who was filming with a slight smile on his face. The woman in Lina's arms had stopped breathing. No. Lina laid her flat on the dirty subway floor, her mind shifting into crisis mode. ABCs. Airway, breathing, circulation. She tilted the woman's head back, checked for obstructions. Clear. She pressed her ear to the woman's chest. No heartbeat. Her hands found position on the woman's sternum, and Lina began compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Staying alive, staying alive. The BG song her instructor had taught her to keep rhythm. 30 compressions, 2 rescue breaths. The woman's chest rose and fell with Lina's breath, but remained still on its own. "Ma'am, stay with me," Lina said, starting compressions again. Her arms burned. Sweat dripped into her eyes. "You're going to be okay. Stay with me." 15 compressions in, someone finally pushed through the crowd. A station attendant, face flushed, holding a red emergency kit. "AED," Lina gasped. "Automated external defibrillator. Do you have one?" The attendant nodded frantically, fumbling with the kit. Lina ripped open the woman's Chanel jacket, buttons scattering across the subway floor like pearls. She couldn't care about designer clothes when a life hung in the balance. The attendant pulled out the AED with shaking hands. "Open it. Turn it on. Follow the instructions," Lina commanded, never stopping her compressions. 30. 2 breaths. 30 more. The AED's electronic voice cut through the chaos in Korean. Lina understood enough. She tore open the adhesive pads and placed them on the woman's chest. Upper right, lower left. The machine began analyzing. "Clear. Don't touch the patient," the AED announced. Lina pulled her hands back, her entire body shaking from exertion and adrenaline. The machine hummed, analyzing the woman's heart rhythm. Every second felt like an eternity. The crowd had gone silent, their phones still recording, but the commentary stopped. Even in Seoul's constant noise, this moment hung suspended in terrible quiet. "Shock advised. Clear the patient." Lina looked around. Everyone had already backed away, fear written across their faces. She pressed the button. The woman's body jerked, her back arching off the ground. Lina held her breath, her hand hovering over the woman's neck, feeling for a pulse. Nothing. "Resume CPR," the AED instructed. Lina's hands found their position again. Her arms screamed in protest, but she pushed through. 1, 2, 3, 4. She'd been doing this for almost 4 minutes now. For minutes that would determine if this woman lived or died. For minutes that felt like 4 hours. "Come on," Lina whispered. Come on, come on, come on. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. The paramedics were close. Just hold on. Just keep her alive until they arrived. 30 compressions. 2 breaths. The woman's lips had turned blue. 30 more compressions. Lina's vision blurred with sweat and tears. She didn't know she was crying. And then, a cough. The woman's body convulsed. Her chest heaved on its own. Air. She was breathing. Lina felt the pulse beneath her fingers, weak but steady, the most beautiful thing she'd ever felt. She's back, Lina sobbed. She's breathing. The paramedics burst onto the platform, equipment clanging, radios crackling. They took over with professional efficiency, but one of them, a young man with kind eyes, squeezed Lina's shoulder. You saved her life, he said in English, recognizing her foreignness. Without you, she would be dead. The woman's eyes fluttered open. Confused, unfocused, but open. Alive. She looked directly at Lina, and something passed between them. Recognition. Gratitude. Connection. The woman's hand shot out, surprisingly strong for someone who'd just been clinically dead. She grabbed Lina's wrist, her grip desperate. She spoke in rapid Korean, words tumbling over each other. She says she needs your name. One of the paramedics translated. She needs to find you. To thank you. No, really, it's okay, Lina protested. I don't need thanks. I'm just glad she's alive. But the woman wouldn't let go. She pulled Lina closer, her eyes fierce despite her weakness. She spoke again, more insistent. She says in her family, a life debt must be repaid. She must have your contact information. Please. It's very important to her. Lina looked at the woman's face, at the desperation there, and something made her relent. Maybe it was the adrenaline. Maybe it was the way the woman looked at her like Lina was the most important person in the world. Maybe it was just exhaustion. Okay, Lina said softly. She pulled out her phone, hands still shaking, and typed her number into the woman's expensive smartphone that a paramedic handed over. Lina Grant. That's me. The woman nodded, satisfied, and finally released her grip. The paramedics loaded her onto a stretcher, but she kept her eyes on Lina until they wheeled her into the ambulance. The doors closed. The sirens wailed. And then they were gone. Lina stood on the platform, her clothes soaked with sweat, her medical textbook trampled somewhere in the crowd, her entire body shaking. The onlookers began to disperse, already moving on to their next destination, their next distraction. Within minutes, it was like nothing had happened. Except everything had happened. A station attendant approached with her textbook, its spine cracked, pages bent. You dropped this. And, thank you. For helping. Many people wouldn't. Lina took the book, nodded, and stumbled toward the exit. She needed air. She needed space. She needed to process what had just occurred. Outside the station, she leaned against a wall and finally let herself break down. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She kept seeing the woman's blue lips, kept feeling the absence of a heartbeat beneath her hands. What if she'd hesitated? What if she'd been too afraid? What if she'd failed? But she hadn't failed. The woman was alive. Have you ever saved someone's life? Drop a comment below and let us know your story. And if you're enjoying this crazy journey, hit that like button and subscribe because what happens next will blow your mind. 3 days passed. Lina almost convinced herself the subway incident had been a fever dream, something her stressed mind had conjured during another sleepless night worrying about tuition money. She went back to her routine. Morning classes, afternoon shift at the coffee shop, evening studying in her tiny apartment that smelled perpetually of kimchi from her neighbor's cooking. Her roommate Ji-won, a Korean pharmacy student with purple-streaked hair and an addiction to K-dramas, sat cross-legged on their shared couch, scrolling through her phone. Oh my god, Lina, you're famous. What? Lina looked up from her anatomy textbook. Ji-won turned her phone around. A video played, shaky footage from multiple angles stitched together. Lina watched herself performing CPR on the subway floor, watched the crowd of people just standing there filming, watched the moment the woman came back to life. The video had over 2 million views. Foreign woman saves prominent Seoul resident on subway. Ji-won read the headline. The comments are going crazy. Everyone's trying to figure out who you are. Prominent. Lina frowned. What does that mean? Ji-won shrugged. The article doesn't say. Just that she was taken to Samsung Medical Center, which is like the most expensive private hospital in Seoul. Only really rich people go there. Lina's phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number, in Korean. She opened her translation app, held the phone over the screen. Please meet me tomorrow, 7 p.m. Mingle's Restaurant, Cheongdam-dong. I must thank you properly. This is Mrs. Park, the woman you saved. Should I go? Lina asked, showing Ji-won the message. Ji-won's face went pale. Mingle's? Are you serious? What's wrong with Mingle's? Lina, that's one of the most exclusive restaurants in Seoul. Like, you need reservations 6 months in advance. Michelin stars, politicians, and celebrities eat there. It costs like $500 per person minimum. Ji-won grabbed Lina's shoulders. Who is this woman? I don't know. She was just wearing nice clothes. Nice clothes? Lina, normal rich people don't eat at Mingles. That's like next level wealth. Ji-won bit her lip. You should go, but be careful. Very careful. The next evening, Lina stood outside Mingles wearing the only dress she owned. A simple black number she'd bought for her cousin's wedding 3 years ago. The restaurant entrance looked more like a luxury hotel, all marble and subtle lighting. A doorman in white gloves opened the door before she could reach for it. Inside, soft jazz played. The walls were decorated with contemporary art that probably cost more than Lina's medical school tuition. A hostess in a perfectly tailored hanbok approached, her smile professional and cool. Reservation name? She asked in Korean. Park? I'm meeting Mrs. Park. The hostess's expression changed instantly. The cool professionalism melted into something close to reverence. Of course. Please, follow me. They walked through the main dining room where Seoul's elite ate in hushed tones, then through a hallway lined with private rooms. The hostess stopped at the last door, knocked twice, and slid it open. Mrs. Park sat at a low table in a private room that overlooked the Seoul skyline. She looked radiant, healthy, wearing a deep burgundy hanbok that made her look regal. But she wasn't alone. A man sat beside her. Late 30s, sharp jawline, eyes that seemed to calculate everything they saw. He wore a black suit that fit him like it had been sewn directly onto his body, probably because it had been. His hair was slicked back, his expression unreadable. Everything about him screamed power and danger in equal measure. Mrs. Park stood immediately, rushed to Lina with tears streaming down her face. She embraced Lina like a long-lost daughter, speaking rapidly in Korean, her words tumbling over each other in emotion. The man stood more slowly. He bowed, deep and formal, the kind of bow that carried weight. My mother says you are her savior, he said in perfect English, his voice smooth and controlled. She says the God sent you to her that day. I am Lee Joon. This is my mother, Mrs. Park Sunny. I'm Lina Grant. She felt awkward, out of place in this room that probably cost more per night than her monthly rent. Your English is perfect. I studied at Harvard. Lee Joon gestured to the table. Please sit. We have much to discuss. The meal that followed was surreal. 9 courses, each more elaborate than the last. Delicate sashimi arranged like art. Wagyu beef, so tender it melted on Lina's tongue. Mrs. Park insisted on serving Lina personally, placing the best pieces on her plate. Refilling her tea before the cup was even half empty. Lee Joon watched everything with those calculating eyes. He asked questions, his tone polite but probing. Where was Lina from? Why Korea? What were her plans? Each answer seemed to be filed away, processed, evaluated. My mother tells me you're a medical student, Lee Joon said, setting down his chopsticks. How much longer until you graduate? 1 more year. If I can afford it. Something flickered in his eyes. Money troubles? Lina hesitated. She didn't want to seem like she was asking for anything, but something about Lee Joon's direct gaze made lying impossible. I need $15,000 for tuition. My visa expires in 3 months. If I can't pay, I have to leave Korea. All this work, all these years, for nothing. Mrs. Park spoke rapidly to her son in Korean. Lee Joon listened, his expression never changing, then turned back to Lina. My mother says this is unacceptable. You saved her life. You gave me back the only person I love in this world. $15,000 is nothing compared to that debt. I don't want money, Lina said quickly. I didn't save her for a reward. It was just the right thing to do. Lee Joon leaned back, studying her. For the first time, something like surprise crossed his features. Just the right thing to do, he repeated slowly. Most people wouldn't have stopped. Most people would have kept walking, kept filming, kept pretending it wasn't their problem. Most people aren't training to be doctors. Most people don't have your heart. Mrs. Park reached across the table, taking Lina's hand. She spoke in halting English, clearly struggling with each word. You, good person. Rare. Precious. I have gift. She pulled out a small velvet box from beside her plate. Inside was a jade bracelet, carved with intricate patterns that spoke of centuries of craftsmanship. The green stone caught the light, seeming to glow from within. This belonged to my grandmother, Lee Joon translated as his mother spoke. It's been in our family for 4 generations. She wants you to have it. I can't accept this, Lina protested, pushing the box back across the table. It's too much. It's a family heirloom. Mrs. Park's eyes filled with tears. She spoke firmly in Korean, her voice breaking with emotion. She says you are family now, Lee Joon said quietly. In our culture, when someone saves a life, they become responsible for that life. But it goes both ways. That person also becomes responsible for you. You saved her, so now you are her daughter. She will care for you as she cares for me. The weight of those words hung in the air. Lina looked at Mrs. Park's earnest face, at the love and determination there, and felt something crack open in her chest. She'd been alone in Korea for so long. No family, few friends, just the constant grind of school and work and worry. I don't know what to say, Lina whispered. Say you'll accept our gratitude, Lee Joon replied. Say you'll let us help you the way you helped us. But I don't need. Everyone needs something, Miss Grant. Lee Joon pulled a card from his inner pocket. Thick, expensive paper. Just a phone number, no name, no company. If you ever need anything, call this number. Day or night. Any problem, any trouble, any need. You call me. There was something in the way he said it. Something that made Lina's instincts prickle with warning. She looked at his hands, noticed the faint scars across his knuckles. Looked at his eyes, saw something dark and dangerous swimming beneath the surface. Looked at the way the restaurant staff had practically bowed when they entered. What do you do, Mr. Lee? She asked carefully. His smile was cold. I manage family business interests. Import, export, real estate, entertainment venues. My family has been in Seoul for 5 generations. We have influence. It was an answer that said everything and nothing. Lina took the card because refusing felt more dangerous than accepting. She slipped it into her purse, next to her student ID and her nearly maxed-out credit card. Mrs. Park spoke again, and Lee Joon's expression softened. My mother wants to know if you'll have tea with her next week. She says she felt your kindness that day on the subway, felt it in your hands as you fought for her life. She wants to know you better. Lina looked at Mrs. Park's hopeful face and couldn't refuse. I'd like that. They parted ways with more bowing, more tears from Mrs. Park, more unreadable looks from Lee Joon. A black Mercedes waited outside to drive Lina home. She protested, but Lee Joon simply opened the door. Humor me, he said. It's late. Gangnam isn't always safe at night, especially for women alone. The driver said nothing during the ride to her neighborhood in Itaewon. Lina watched Seoul's glittering skyline pass by through tinted windows, feeling like she'd stepped into someone else's life for a few hours. Ji-won practically tackled her when she walked in. Tell me everything. Was it amazing? What did you eat? What were they like? Lina collapsed on their secondhand couch. It was intense. Intense how? Rich people intense or dangerous intense? Maybe both. Lina pulled out Lee Joon's card. He gave me this. Said to call if I ever need anything. Ji-won took the card, examined it, and her face went from curious to scared. Lina, do you know who Lee Joon is? He said he manages family business. Import, export, real estate. That's what they call it. Ji-won grabbed her laptop, typed rapidly. Okay, so there's not much online about him, which is suspicious in itself. But there are rumors. The Park family, they're old soul money. Like, really old. And they supposedly control a lot of Gangnam. Control how? The clubs, the bars, the entertainment districts. Protection services for businesses. High-end gambling. They call it the night economy. Ji-won looked at Lina seriously. People don't talk about them directly. That's how powerful they are. They're like, I don't know the English word. Yakuza? Mafia. Lina's stomach dropped. You're saying I saved a crime boss's mother? I'm saying you saved someone very important to someone very dangerous. Ji-won handed back the card. Which means he now considers himself in your debt. That could be very good or very bad. Lina stared at the card, at the simple phone number that represented something far more complex than she'd imagined. What had she gotten herself into? Her phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Park. Even through the translation app, the warmth came through. Thank you for tonight, my daughter. Sleep well. Tomorrow is tea at 2 p.m. I will send car. She's sending a car tomorrow, Lina said weakly. Are you going to go? Lina thought about Mrs. Park's face, about the genuine love and gratitude there. Whatever her son was involved in, his mother had seemed kind, real, and desperately lonely in the way only wealthy, protected people could be. Yeah, Lina decided. I'm going. What would you do if you discovered the person you saved had dangerous connections? Would you walk away or see where it leads? Comment below. And don't forget to like and subscribe because this story is about to get even crazier. The team meetings became weekly, then twice weekly. Mrs. Park would send her driver, a silent man named Kim, who drove like he was transporting precious cargo, and Lina would spend afternoons in Mrs. Park's penthouse apartment that overlooked the Han River. The place was stunning, all traditional Korean aesthetics mixed with modern luxury. Hanji paper screens, antique furniture worth more than most people's houses, art that belonged in museums. Mrs. Park taught Lina to make kimchi, her hands gentle as she showed Lina how much gochugaru to use, how to massage the salt into the cabbage. She taught her Korean through patience and laughter, correcting Lina's pronunciation with giggles that made her seem decades younger. She showed Lina photo albums, pointed to pictures of a young Lee Joon, a little boy with serious eyes even then. My husband, Mrs. Park said in careful English, pointing to a handsome man in the photos. Dead. 26 years. I'm so sorry, Lina said softly. Mrs. Park nodded, touched the photo tenderly. June, he was 12. Now he, protect me. Protect family name. Protect everything. There was something sad in the way she said it, something that spoke of sacrifices made and prices paid. But she quickly brightened, changing the subject to Lina's studies, her dreams, her life. Lee Joon appeared occasionally, always unexpected. He'd walk in during their tea, nod politely to Lina, speak quietly with his mother in Korean. But Lina noticed things. The way bodyguards materialized in the hallway when he arrived. The way his phone rang constantly with calls he'd step away to answer. The way his mother's face would tighten with worry when he left. 2 weeks after their first meeting, Lina arrived at her tiny apartment to find an envelope shoved under her door. Inside was $500 in cash and a note in Korean. She used her translation app, for the student who saves lives. From someone who believes in you. She tried to return it. Called Lee Joon's number. Ms. Grant, his smooth voice answered immediately. I can't accept this money. It's not for me. It's from your students at the coffee shop. They took up a collection when they heard about what you did on the subway. That's not true. Can you prove it's not true? There was amusement in his voice. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Does it matter? You need it. Take it. Buy food. Buy textbooks. Buy yourself something that makes you smile. Mr. Lee, my mother says you're too thin. She worries. Let us worry about you, Ms. Grant. You saved her life. This is nothing. He hung up before she could argue further. Lina stared at the cash in her hands. Her stomach had been growling for 3 days. She had exactly $8 in her bank account. Her pride warred with her desperation. Desperation won. She went to the grocery store and cried in the produce aisle because she could afford fresh vegetables for the first time in months. The next week, her university called. Ms. Grant, there's been an error with your account. It seems you received a scholarship we weren't aware of. The International Medical Student Excellence Fund. It covers $3,000 of your tuition. Lina knew immediately. Who established this fund? It's anonymous. But you qualified based on your grades and your heroic actions have been noted. The scholarship board was very impressed. $3,000. That left $12,000. Still impossible, but less impossible than before. She called Lee Joon again. You have to stop. Stop what? The money. The scholarship. All of it. I can't be bought. No one's buying you, Ms. Grant. His voice went cold. I'm paying a debt. In my world, debts are absolute. They must be honored. My mother is alive because of you. Everything I have, everything I am, exists because she exists. You think $3,000 is enough to repay that? I don't want to owe you anything. You don't owe me anything. I owe you. There's a difference. He paused. My mother told me you gave your umbrella to an old man in the rain last week. You missed your bus because of it. She says this is who you are. Someone who helps without counting the cost. She told you that. She tells me everything about you. You're all she talks about now. My daughter Lina said this. My daughter Lina did that. You've made her happier than I've seen her in years. His voice softened slightly. Let me do this. Not for you. For her. Because you gave her something I couldn't give her. Hope. Connection. A daughter who chose her not because of blood or obligation, but because of love. Lina sat on her apartment floor, the phone pressed to her ear, tears streaming down her face. What do you want from me? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just let my mother love you. That's all. But things were never that simple. Lina learned this a month later when her visa troubles mysteriously resolved themselves. The immigration officer who'd been giving her problems suddenly became helpful, almost obsequious. Her student visa was extended for 2 full years instead of the usual 6-month renewal. You're very fortunate, Ms. Grant, the officer said, stamping her passport. Usually, these extensions are quite difficult. Lina knew exactly why it had become easy. She walked out of the immigration office and called Lee Joon immediately. What did you do? I made a phone call. That's all. To who? Does it matter? Your visa is extended. You can finish your studies. Isn't that what you wanted? Not like this. Lina's voice rose. People on the street turned to look. She lowered it to an angry whisper. I don't want to be connected to whatever it is you do. I don't want favors that come from corruption or threats or whatever influence you used. Silence on the other end. When Lee Joon spoke again, his voice was hard. You think I threatened someone? You think I'm some kind of monster? I don't know what you are. That's the problem. Then let me tell you what I am, Ms. Grant. His words came out clipped, controlled fury beneath each syllable. I'm a man who watched his father get shot in the street when I was 12 years old. I'm a man who had to become something dark and dangerous to protect the only family I had left. I'm a man who has done things that would make you turn away in disgust. But I'm also a man who loves his mother more than anything in this world. And you gave her back to me when I was in a meeting too important to answer her call. You were there when I wasn't. Lina heard something break in his voice. Something raw and real beneath the controlled exterior. I didn't threaten anyone. Lee Joon continued quietly. I called a friend in immigration. I asked him to review your case personally. He saw you had perfect grades, no criminal record, that you volunteer at a free clinic every Saturday. He saw you were exactly the kind of person Korea should want to stay. That's all. No threats. No corruption. Just a friend doing a favor. I don't know if I can believe you. I don't care if you believe me. But believe this. My mother talks about you like you're her miracle. She sleeps better knowing you exist in the world. She's teaching you Korean and cooking with you and laughing again. Real laughter, not the fake kind she does to make me feel better. You did that. You. Lina closed her eyes, leaned against a building. This is too much. All of it. I just wanted to help someone on the subway. And you did. But actions have consequences, Ms. Grant. Good actions, bad actions, they all ripple outward. You can't control what happens after you throw the stone in the water. What do you want me to do? Have dinner with us. Tonight. Let me show you who I really am. Not the rumors, not the whispers, not the reputation. Me. Then decide if you want to walk away. Lina shouldn't have agreed. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to go back to her simple, struggling, safe life. But she thought about Mrs. Park's face, about the way the old woman held her hand during their tea times, about how she'd never had a mother figure in her life, and suddenly, she had one who looked at her like she hung the moon. Where? Lina asked. I'll send the address. Come alone. No G1, no safety nets. Just you and me and the truth. The address Lee Joon sent wasn't a restaurant. It was a pojangmaka, one of those plastic tent street food stalls that served soju and fried snacks to drunk salarymen. Lina stood outside, confused, until Lee Joon appeared from the shadows. He looked different. No suit, just jeans and a black t-shirt. His hair wasn't slicked back, but fell naturally across his forehead. He looked younger, more human, more vulnerable. You're surprised, he said. I expected something else. Something expensive? Intimidating. Lee Joon smiled without humor. That's my armor. This is me. They sat on plastic stools under the tent. The ajumma running the stall didn't seem to recognize or care who Lee Joon was. She served them soju and tteokbokki and fish cakes like they were any other customers. My father used to take me to places like this, Lee Joon said, pouring soju into 2 small glasses. Before everything changed. He'd sneak me out after my mother went to bed. Said expensive food was for impressing people, but real food was for feeding your soul. What happened to him? Lee Joon drank his soju in one shot. Territorial dispute. Another family wanted our neighborhood. My father tried to negotiate. They answered with bullets. He poured another glass. I was with him. Held his hand while he died on the sidewalk. Told him I'd take care of mom. Told him I'd make them pay. Did you? Yes. Simple, flat, no emotion. I was 18 when I finally had enough power. Took me 6 years to build up, to become strong enough. And then I made them disappear. Lina should have stood up and walked away. Should have run. But something in his voice, in the way his hands shook slightly as he poured more soju, kept her rooted to the plastic stool. You think I'm a monster now, Lee Joon said. I think you were a child who lost his father in the worst way possible. He looked at her then, really looked at her, and Lina saw surprise in his eyes. Most people don't see it that way. Most people haven't seen what I've seen in emergency rooms. Trauma makes people into things they never wanted to be. Survival mode isn't pretty. Is that what you think I'm in? Survival mode. I think you're a man trying to protect his mother the only way you know how. I think you've built walls so high you can't see over them anymore. I think you're lonely. Lee Joon laughed, but it was bitter. You analyze me after one dinner at a street stall? I'm a medical student. I'm trained to diagnose. And what's your diagnosis, Dr. Grant? You're trapped. In your father's legacy, in your reputation, in the life you built to survive. And you don't know how to get out. The silence stretched between them. The ajumma brought more food. Soju bottles emptied. Seoul hummed around them, indifferent to confessions made under plastic tents. My mother wants me to go legitimate, Lee Joon finally said. She's been asking for years. Says she doesn't want me to end up like my father. But I don't know how. Everything I have, everything I am, it's all built on sand and blood. So build something new. With what? Who's going to trust me? Who's going to do business with Lee Joon, the Gangnam Wolf? Someone who sees past the reputation to the man underneath. Lina reached across the small table, put her hand over his. Someone who knows you paid for a stranger's tuition because your mother asked. Someone who knows you cry at street food stalls when you remember your father. Lee Joon looked at their hands, his scarred and dangerous, hers soft and healing. I'm not crying. Your eyes are wet. It's the soju. Sure it is. He laughed then, real laughter that transformed his face. For a moment, Lina saw the boy he'd been before tragedy made him into something harder. You're dangerous, Ms. Grant. How so? You make me want to be better. That's the most dangerous thing anyone's ever done to me. They talked until the ajumma started cleaning up, shooing them out so she could close. Lee Joon walked Lina to the subway, hands in his pockets, shoulders relaxed in a way she'd never seen. Thank you, he said at the station entrance. For what? For seeing me. Not the reputation. Not the rumors. Just me. Lina smiled. Thank you for showing me. Are you starting to see Lee Joon differently? Drop a comment and let us know what you think of him now. 3 months passed. Lina's life transformed in ways she couldn't have predicted. Her tuition was fully paid through an anonymous scholarship that everyone knew wasn't really anonymous. Her tiny apartment suddenly had a working heater after years of being broken. Her grades improved because she wasn't working double shifts at the coffee shop anymore. Mrs. Park had insisted she quit, said studying was more important than making coffee for rude customers. The tea times continued, but now Lee Joon joined them more often. He'd sit quietly while his mother and Lina talked, occasionally translating, sometimes just listening with something like contentment on his face. Lina learned that he was trying to legitimize his businesses, slowly buying out his own criminal enterprises and replacing them with legal ones. A nightclub became a restaurant. A gambling den became a real estate office. It was slow, dangerous work. Some of his associates didn't appreciate the changes. They think I'm going soft, Lee Joon told Lina one evening. They'd started meeting for coffee once a week, just the two of them. These meetings were never planned, never discussed with Mrs. Park, just something that evolved naturally. They think your influence is making me weak. Is it? Lina asked. No. It's making me remember who I wanted to be before I became what I had to be. He stirred his coffee absently. My father wanted to go legitimate too. That's why they killed him. They couldn't control him anymore. Are you in danger? I'm always in danger. That's the life I chose. He looked at her seriously. But I won't let anything happen to you or my mother. I have plans, security, people I trust. Lina wanted to believe him, but she saw the tiredness in his eyes, the way he checked his phone constantly, the bodyguards that lurked in corners wherever he went. She saw a man trying to climb out of a hole while people kept throwing dirt on top of him. One Saturday, Lina was volunteering at the free clinic in Itaewon when her phone rang. Mrs. Park's number. She answered while stitching up a construction worker's hand. Lina, you come quick. Mrs. Park's voice was panicked, her English deteriorating with stress. Joon, there was, please, come to Seoul National Hospital. Lina's hands went numb. What happened? Attack. At restaurant. Men with guns. Joon, he pushed me down, protected me, but he was shot. Please, my daughter, please come. Lina was already running. She burst out of the clinic, flagged down a taxi, her mind racing through medical possibilities. Gunshot wounds. Depending on location, they could be cervical or fatal. Chest, abdomen, head. God, please not the head. The taxi driver looked at her tear-streaked face and drove like a madman through Seoul traffic. She arrived at Seoul National Hospital in 15 minutes, a trip that should have taken 30. She threw money at the driver and ran inside. Mrs. Park sat in the waiting room, her cream blouse stained with blood. Lee Joon's blood. She looked old suddenly, fragile in a way Lina had never seen. When she saw Lina, she collapsed into her arms, sobbing in Korean. Where is he? Lina demanded. What's his condition? A doctor approached, young, exhausted. Are you family? Yes, Lina lied without hesitation. I'm his sister. What's his status? The doctor glanced at Mrs. Park, who nodded frantically. Gunshot wound to the upper chest. The bullet missed his heart by 2 centimeters, but collapsed his lung. He's in surgery now. It's going to be close. 2 centimeters. The difference between life and death. Lina felt her legs give out. She sank into a chair, Mrs. Park clutching her hand so tightly it hurt. He'll be okay, Lina said, not knowing if it was true, needing to believe it anyway. He's strong. He'll fight. Like his father, Mrs. Park whispered. Always fighting. Always protecting. I should have made him stop. Should have made him leave this life. This isn't your fault. I let him become this. I let him take his father's place. I was weak, scared, alone. I let my son become a monster to protect me. Mrs. Park looked at Lina with devastated eyes. What kind of mother does that? A mother who was trying to survive. Just like he was. Lina wrapped her arm around the older woman's shoulders. We all do what we have to do to protect the people we love. They waited. Minutes became hours. Mrs. Park prayed in Korean, her lips moving constantly. Lina found herself praying too, to a God she wasn't sure she believed in anymore, making bargains she had no authority to make. Save him, and I'll walk away. Save him, and I'll never ask for anything again. Save him because he's trying to be better. Save him because his mother needs him. Save him because I need him. That last thought surprised her. When had Lee Joon become necessary to her existence? When had he stopped being the dangerous man and become just Joon? The man who remembered how she took her coffee. The man who texted her stupid jokes during her exams to make her laugh. The man who was trying to climb out of darkness toward light. The surgery took 6 hours. The doctor emerged finally, bloody scrubs, exhausted eyes. He's alive. Critical, but stable. The next 48 hours will tell us everything. Mrs. Park collapsed against Lina, thanking God in Korean and English and probably every language she knew. Lina held her and let her own tears fall finally, relief and fear mixing into something overwhelming. Can we see him? Lina asked. I see you. 10 minutes only. He's unconscious, but you can sit with him. Lee Joon looked small in the hospital bed, and that was wrong. He was supposed to be powerful, untouchable, dangerous. But connected to machines, his chest wrapped in bandages, his face pale, he looked like what he was, a man who'd almost died protecting his mother. Mrs. Park took his hand, spoke softly in Korean. Lina stood back, giving them privacy, but Mrs. Park gestured her forward. He would want you here, she said simply. Lina moved to the other side of the bed. Lee Joon's hand was cold. She wrapped both of hers around it, trying to share her warmth, her life, her stubborn refusal to let him go. You don't get to die, she whispered. You hear me? You promised you'd go legitimate. You promised you'd build something good. You don't get to break that promise. His fingers twitched slightly. Maybe coincidence. Maybe not. My daughter, Mrs. Park said softly. You love him. Lina started to deny it, then stopped. Why lie? Yes. He loves you too. He hasn't said, but a mother knows. He looks at you like your sunlight, and he's been in darkness his whole life. Mrs. Park smiled through her tears. You saved me on that subway. Now you save him. Save him from himself, from his past, from the violence. Be his reason to live differently. I don't know if I'm strong enough for that. You jumped into a crowd to save a stranger. You are stronger than you know. What would you risk for someone you love? Have you ever realized your feelings for someone during a crisis? Share your thoughts below, and smash that like button if you're emotionally invested in this story. Lina didn't leave the hospital for 3 days. She slept in the waiting room when they kicked her out of ICU, ate vending machine food, and showered in the staff bathroom because one of the nurses took pity on her. Mrs. Park insisted she had a driver bring fresh clothes, but Lina refused to go home. Not until Lee Joon woke up. He opened his eyes on the 3rd day, confused and disoriented. Lina was alone with him when it happened, Mrs. Park having finally gone home to rest. His eyes found her first, struggled to focus. Lina. His voice was rough, damaged from the breathing tube. I'm here. She moved closer, taking his hand. You scared us. Mom. She's fine. You saved her. Again. That seems to be a pattern in your family. He tried to smile, but winced. Hurts. You were shot. It's supposed to hurt. Lina's voice cracked. 2 centimeters from your heart, Joon. 2 centimeters, and you'd be dead. But I'm not. But you could have been. The tears came now hot and angry. You could have died, and your mother would have lost you, and I would have. She stopped, unable to finish. You would have what? His eyes were clearer now, focused entirely on her face. I would have lost you before I could tell you that somewhere between street food and coffee dates, I fell in love with you, you idiot. The words tumbled out, messy and honest. And I know that's stupid because you're you, and I'm me, and your life is complicated and dangerous, but I don't care. I love you, and you almost died, and I can't do this anymore. I can't pretend I don't care. Lee Joon stared at her, his expression unreadable. Then slowly, carefully, he lifted his hand to her face, wiped away her tears with his thumb. I fell in love with you the night at the Pojangmaka, he said quietly. When you called me lonely and trapped, and saw through every wall I'd built. I've been trying to become someone worthy of you ever since. You don't have to become anyone. You just have to be you. The real you, not the reputation. The real me is a man with blood on his hands. The real you is a man trying to wash that blood off. That's what matters. Lina leaned down carefully, mindful of his injuries, and kissed him. It was soft, gentle, tasted of tears and antiseptic and hope. When she pulled back, Lee Joon was smiling. Really smiling. The kind that reached his eyes and made him look young and free. My mother is going to be insufferable about this, he said. She already knows. She told me I love you before I figured it out myself. Of course she did. He squeezed her hand. The men who shot me, they're being handled. This was their last warning to me. They wanted me to know they could reach my mother anywhere, anytime. What are you going to do? End it. All of it. I've been planning this for months, but I was moving too slowly, trying not to make waves. But they came after my mother. They crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. His voice went hard. I'm done playing safe. I'm going to burn it all down and build something clean from the ashes. That's dangerous. Living is dangerous. Loving is dangerous. You taught me that taking risks for the right reasons is the only way to really live. Over the next 3 weeks, while Lee Joon recovered, Lina watched him orchestrate the dismantling of his empire from a hospital bed. He made calls, held meetings with his lieutenants, and systematically transferred power, money, and territory to people he trusted. Some went legitimately into legal businesses. Some he simply walked away from, leaving them to collapse without his support. The ones who'd ordered the hit on his mother disappeared. Lina didn't ask how. Some things she was better off not knowing. Mrs. Park visited every day, bringing home-cooked meals and treating both Lee Joon and Lina like her children. She'd taken to calling Lina daughter exclusively now, the English word said with such pride and love that it made Lina's heart ache. When my son leaves hospital, we celebrate, Mrs. Park announced one afternoon. Big party. Invite everyone. Show Seoul that Lee family is new now. Better now. Mom, I don't think a party, Lee Joon started. Party, Mrs. Park insisted. We celebrate life. We celebrate love. We celebrate new beginning. She got her party. 2 months later, Lee Joon was fully healed, and Mrs. Park rented out an entire restaurant. Not Mingle's this time, but a traditional Korean restaurant that her husband had loved. She invited everyone. Lee Joon's legitimate business partners, Lina's classmates, even Ji-won, who spent the entire night starstruck and whispering, "I can't believe this is your life now," in Lina's ear. Lee Joon stood up to make a speech, looking healthy and strong in a simple gray suit. Most of you know my family's reputation. You know what we were, what I was. Some of you benefited from that. Some of you were hurt by it. I can't change the past, but I can change the future. He looked directly at Lina. A year ago, a woman I didn't know saved my mother's life on a subway. She didn't do it for recognition or reward. She did it because it was right. That one act of kindness changed everything. It showed me that good people still exist. That redemption is possible. That love is stronger than reputation. Mrs. Park was already crying. Lina felt tears building in her own eyes. I'm announcing today that Lee Holdings is going completely legitimate. Every business, every property, every venture. We're done with the darkness. We're stepping into the light, and we're not looking back. He raised his glass. To new beginnings. To second chances. To the woman who gave them to us. Everyone drank. The party continued. But Lee Joon came to Lina's side, took her hand, led her to a quiet corner. I have something for you, he said, pulling out an envelope. Inside was a key and a document. Lina's hands shook as she read it. A medical clinic. In her name. Fully equipped, fully funded, in one of Seoul's underserved neighborhoods. Joon, I can't. You can. You will. You wanted to open a clinic for people who need help. People like the construction workers and students and immigrants who can't afford regular hospitals. So here it is. This is too much. It's not enough. It will never be enough. He cupped her face in his hands. You gave me back my mother. You gave me back myself. Let me give you your dream. Lina kissed him there, in front of everyone, not caring who saw. When they broke apart, the entire party was watching, smiling, Mrs. Park loudest of all. My children, she called out in English. My beautiful children. Have you ever witnessed a complete life transformation? Drop a comment telling us what you think about Lee Joon's journey. And don't forget to like and subscribe because we're about to wrap up this incredible story. 6 months later, Lina stood in front of Seoul Community Medical Center, her clinic, watching the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Mrs. Park held the oversized scissors, insisting she should have the honor since she was the grandmother of this miracle. Lee Joon stood beside Lina, his hand in hers, solid and real and alive. The clinic was beautiful. Modern equipment, comfortable waiting rooms, signs in Korean, English, and 3 other languages. They'd hired 5 doctors, 10 nurses, and made everything on a sliding scale. If patients could pay, they did. If they couldn't, they received care anyway. Ready? Lee Joon asked. Terrified, Lina admitted. What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail? You saved my mother with just your hands and your training and your heart. You saved me from becoming my father's ghost. You don't know how to fail. Mrs. Park cut the ribbon. People cheered. The first patients were already waiting inside. A mix of immigrants, elderly people, construction workers, students. The people Seoul forgot about. The ones who fell through the cracks. Lina's people. She walked inside, put on her white coat with Dr. Lina Grant embroidered on the pocket. She'd graduated top of her class, passed all her exams, and now here she was, living her dream in a country that had become home, with a family she'd found in the most unexpected way. Her first patient was a young mother with a sick child. Lina examined the little girl, diagnosed a simple ear infection, prescribed antibiotics. The mother started to cry when Lina told her the visit was free. I can't pay, the woman said in broken English. No insurance. No money. You don't need to pay. That's why we're here. Lina handed her the prescription. Take this to our pharmacy downstairs. They'll fill it for free. Bring her back in a week so we can make sure the infection is clearing. The woman bowed deeply, thanking her over and over. When she left, Lina had to take a moment to breathe, to process the weight of what she'd just done. This was real. This was happening. She was actually helping people. Lee Joon appeared in her doorway, leaning against the frame. How's it feel, Dr. Grant? Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Good. Because my mother is outside telling everyone you're the best doctor in Seoul, and they should all come here. Lina laughed. Of course she is. She's not wrong, though. Lee Joon crossed the room, pulled her close despite the fact that they were in her office, and anyone could see. You were the best. At everything. At healing, at loving, at making broken people believe they can be whole again. You were never broken, Joon. Just bent. Same difference. Not even close. She kissed him softly. How's the new business? Growing. Slowly, but growing. Turns out people actually want to do legitimate business with me when I'm not threatening them. He smiled. Who knew? I knew. You knew everything before I did. That's annoying. That's love. They worked until late that first night, Lina treating patients while Lee Joon handled administrative calls from the small office he'd set up in the back. Mrs. Park brought them dinner, refused to leave until they'd eaten every bite, then started organizing the supply closet because she couldn't sit still. Around midnight, they finally locked up. The three of them stood outside the clinic, looking at the sign that glowed in the darkness. Seoul Community Medical Center. A beacon for people who needed help. My husband would have loved this, Mrs. Park said softly. He always said real power isn't controlling people. It's serving them. I wish I'd known him, Lina said. You do know him. He's in Joon. The good parts, the parts one fought to keep alive. Mrs. Park took both their hands. You are my miracles. Both of you. The daughter I prayed for, and the son who came back to me. They stood there, three people who'd found each other in the chaos of Seoul, and became something more than family. They became proof that kindness ripples outward, that redemption is possible, that love can grow in the most unlikely places. A year passed. The clinic thrived. Lina treated thousands of patients, her reputation growing not because of who she was connected to, but because of the lives she saved. Lee Joon's legitimate businesses expanded. He opened a foundation for children who'd lost parents to violence, named it after his father. Mrs. Park volunteered at the clinic 3 days a week, bringing her warmth and her kimchi to anyone who looked hungry or sad. One evening, Lee Joon took Lina to the subway station where everything had started. Line 2, Gangnam Station. They stood on the platform where his mother had collapsed, where Lina had fought to bring her back to life. I come here sometimes, Lee Joon admitted. To remember. To ground myself when the past tries to pull me back. What do you think about when you're here? About how one moment changed everything. How if you'd walked away, if you'd been in a different car, if you'd hesitated even a second, my mother would be dead. I'd be dead, maybe not physically, but in every way that matters. He turned to face her. I think about fate and coincidence and whether there's a difference. And what do you conclude? That I don't care which it was. I just care that it happened. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Lina's heart stopped. I'm not good at romantic speeches, Lee Joon said, opening the box to reveal a simple diamond ring. I'm not good at being vulnerable or expressing emotions or any of the things you're supposed to be good at for this. But I know I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to build something good in this world with you. I want to give our children the father mine should have been. I want to be the man you see when you look at me, even when I can't see him myself. Tears streamed down Lina's face. Joon, let me finish. You saved my mother that day, but you saved me too. From myself, from my legacy, from a future that would have destroyed me. You showed me that one person can change everything. So I'm asking you to be that person for the rest of my life. Marry me, Lina. Please. The subway pulled into the station. People rushed past them, everyone in their own world, their own story. But Lina only saw Lee Joon, this man who'd been forged in tragedy and was choosing every day to become something better. Yes, she said. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring on her finger, kissed her there on the platform where everything began. The train departed. Another arrived. The cycle continued, and somewhere in that cycle, two broken people had found each other and become whole. What would you have said? Could you love someone with a dark past if they were trying to change? Let us know in the comments. If this story moved you, if you felt every emotion alongside Lina and Lee Joon, smash that like button right now. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that redemption is possible, that love can bloom in unexpected places, and that one moment of courage can transform everything. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we bring you incredible stories like this every single week.